This is Emsolation.
Hello and welcome to this very special edition of Emsolation Conversation. Joining me today, I'm about to change your life. Rick, I say that with, unless you're already across my guest's work, then your life has already been changed. Joining me today is Lucy Peach. This is from her. This is what she calls a feminist folk pop singer-songwriter in stripy pants, living and working backwards from my imagined life as a happy old woman. I love that. She is, yes, a talented folk singer, but also she calls herself the period preacher. And obviously I've been doing a lot of talking this year about how I've been struggling with my PMS. And one of you actually forwarded me Lucy's TED Talk, and it was all around kind of harnessing the power of your menstrual cycle. And I'd never looked at my menstrual cycle as something that could be positive.
If we can harness solar power, if we can harness wind power, it's time that we harnessed menstrual power. It's time we realised the greatest life hack of them all is the menstrual cycle. And that is the power of the period.
You need to look a TED Talk up. It's called The Power of the Period. And she has a book out called Period Queen, and it's all around life hacking your cycle and owning the power of your cycle. And for so long, I've only looked at menstruation and the changes that happen in my body through a negative light. And I realised that in the last few weeks, especially becoming aware of Lucy's work. So I asked her to come on the show. Now, she has merch. She has a T-shirt that said, "How to period like a unicorn." I mean, come on, is she not our woman? So what you're about to hear, I'm hoping you will walk away as I walked away after the interview, understanding yourself a bit better and wanting to go a bit gentler with yourself. That's what I've taken away from this interview. It's so fantastic. She's so amazing. You need to look her up on all the platforms. Please enjoy. You're going to hear us straight off the bat. She's giving me a pep talk. We'll go straight in. Lucy Peach.
And we're away. And I just wanted to say, just before we start, you just said, I need to make this coherent. And I would just say, actually, this is the perfect opportunity to be circular and to chuck the idea of having to be linear out the window, and we can go exactly where we need to go. I am 40. Yeah, I'm
You're 40. I just asked. We're straight in. Welcome,
Yeah.
Emsolation listeners. I'm getting a pre-pod pep, which I love, because normally I'm giving the pep talks on the pod. You're 40, so you're same as me, nearly, pretty much.
Yeah.
I'm speaking with Lucy Peach. Yay, Lucy Peach! Lucy Peach is the period preacher. What other catchy names have you got for yourself? I mean, you're a very talented folk singer, award winner. You're the period preacher. What else?
I used to call myself the Freo Fringe folk flake because I didn't have very much confidence, and I sort of lived 10 minutes out of Fremantle, but I really identified with living in Fremantle. Yeah.
I like that name. So you came into my field of vision really only 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
Yeah, so I have been really going through it with my PMS. And, you know, being the type of person who likes to work through trauma on stage in a leotard, I didn't have that opportunity this year because of COVID. So I've really been noticing my PMS this year because I've not been able to distract myself with extreme busyness.
Not been able to escape it.
Correct. Ignore it, do all the healthy things. And I was talking about it quite a bit kind of on my social media, and then one of the listeners to my podcast, I say my podcast like we're not on it now, said, "You must watch this TED Talk, The Power of the Period," by folk singer and performer Lucy Peach. And I don't have an attention span. So someone sends me a TED Talk, I'm like, all right, okay. But something, I don't know, just compelled me. I clicked on the link immediately and I watched it.
Was it the sparkly suit?
You were in the red. No, my friend made your outfit.
Alice Edgley.
Alice made it, yes. You're in the jumps. I own the jumps that you're wearing, actually.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes,
Are you serious?
Yeah, I own the red turban and I own
forget
the
it.
jumpsuit.
Okay. Oh my God, we
We're
need
kindred spirits.
We need to meet in the middle of Australia in our cat suits and our
100%.
turbans.
You know who else owns the Alice's stuff? Is Melissa Leong from MasterChef. She's also an Edgeley girl.
Wow.
So and
Ella Hooper.
Ella Hooper. Yeah, the
Yes.
Edgeley girls are
Yes.
great.
Yeah,
We're all good chicks.
we are.
So you're there and you're in the red turban and you're in a red bodysuit and you're there talking about the power of the period. And I was from the get-go. And for everyone listening, I'm going to shut up soon and it's all going to be Lucy. But I just want to let her know how we got here. And I was so – it was like – I don't even know how to explain it. Like it was like the veil being lifted from my eyes and I just went fucking yes. And – you selling the idea that you can hack your cycle and there's untapped power spoke to this exhausted mother of three who's always struggled with her period. And the way that you described it with the seasons, summer, autumn, winter, spring, in case people aren't aware of the seasons, really spoke to me. And then I've gone down this whole path of I got so many people contacting me when I talked about how much I'm struggling with my cycles. And then I just thought this is a thing. And I already know that the shame and stigma around women's menstruation is, not a new topic. But I'm still guilty of talking and feeding into that narrative and that I talk about my period in a negative way around my daughters. I talk about my period in a negative way around anyone who'll listen. But you don't. And here we are. And I want to start from the beginning. Why did you become so interested in your menstruation cycle? Why did you want to understand it positively? Go.
Well, so along with being a folk singer, at the same time I was working as a sexual health educator. And so I was so grateful really to be paid, to be learning about all of these things that, for a lot of people, they're really hard to talk about. And so my bread and butter was going out into schools and talking about puberty and to high school students about consent and all of these kinds of things. And I was just really immersed in this world of information and openness. And at the same time, I had a young child, and once you have that experience of being able to impart information, I mean, you know what it's like when you're able to share something that's difficult to talk about, and you just make, you have the privilege of being able to make things a little bit easier for other people. That's pretty addictive, actually, and it's one of those things. It's like, with feminism or patriarchy or whatever, the more you kind of look at it and you think, oh, yeah, maybe we don't need that little bit and we take that off. And then you think, oh, actually, we can probably get rid of that bit there too, and actually just chuck out the whole, you really, the more you see, the more you see, the more you look, the more you see. And so, yeah, and basically I was making a music video with my husband who's a creative director, and we were in the middle of nowhere, and there was a guy who was assisting with the music video, and there was a little moment where I was getting ready for a scene, and I said, oh, what lipstick shall I wear? And I was like, oh, fuck it, I'm in my post-ovulatory phase. I'm going to wear hot pink. And he said, what are you talking about? What is this phase? What is this? And so I gave him a little synopsis, and then he used to be a clown in the Cirque du Soleil, and he said, and he had something to do with Perth Fringe Festival, and he said, you need to make this into a show. And I thought, well, that's ridiculous. No one's going to come to a show about my period. But I was in my post-ovulatory, wanting to say yes to everything phase.
Oh, we'll
and
get
I said,
to that.
yeah,
I love
let's
that.
do it. So, yeah, so that's how I came to start doing it. And I just basically haven't stopped. I've been on this train for a long time personally, but publicly, for over 4 years. And it's just, I love it. So
Well, you're so fucking good at it. But I want to take you back. I have an 18-year-old and a 13-year-old, and there's just not a lot of positive talk around the way girls' bodies change during puberty. There's just not. And it's often seen as a bit of a burden and, oh, God, I've got getting my boobs and I've got this and that. How do we, and I'm going to ask practical questions for myself and hope that helps.
Yeah, absolutely.
How do I talk to my 18 and 13-year-old in a positive way around the change? Like, how do you have that conversation with teenagers who don't, you get the whole, oh, my God, Mum, stop it.
Yes, yep,
But
yep.
I want them to feel positive
Of
about
course.
their bodies because the shame
Yeah.
that I'm combating as a parent with social media.
I know,
it feels like
I know. It's
we're drowning
brutal.
in shame.
Yep.
So how do we have positive conversations with teenage girls around the changes their bodies are going through?
Well, first of all, when you introduced me and you talked about, speaking about your own cycle negatively and you don't, and you're, I feel like I'm wary of having this sort of positive Pollyanna pathological persona who's just like, periods are excellent, okay, and everyone just get with the program. If you just, put on an Alice Edgley catsuit, everything will be fantastic. And the reality is sometimes having a menstrual cycle, particularly a period, can be really, really difficult and challenging. And, the feelings that you feel when you're premenstrual can make you absolutely capable of, catastrophic events. And those are not things that I want to shy away from at all. I think that they're really, really important to talk about the big feelings and to, talk about strategies around channeling those things and mitigating them. But that was the disclaimer that, and for people that are listening who have endometriosis or, have any other issues going on, I can really appreciate that they might be listening and just saying you are on drugs, because that is not my experience at all. And I'm not saying that, you can just understanding your cycle is the panacea for everything. But I think when we all have permission to talk about our experiences as they are, positive, negative, whatever, then everybody's experience is made a little bit more okay to talk about. And we do two things. We help to really keep smashing that shame, which, and, to the shame, I would just say, like, we can do so much better than that. Like, of course there's been shame. Move on. Like, we have, this is so much bigger than just going, oh, let's make people not feel ashamed. Like, fuck that. There is power in your pants, literally. And the whole premise of, being in this world that is really a slave to the linear, we're all just expected to be the same every day. And if you have a cycle, you're not. No. When you're talking to teenage girls, the most important thing, I think, is to be really authentic, which for talking about anything with teenagers. But also, even at this stage, that whole shame, guilt cycle around, being a positive role model and for you to even just be open about that process and say, you know what, like, I have had this whole lifetime of not understanding my body and not putting words in your mouth, now I'm realizing actually there's this whole other lens that I can look at myself through. And so, I can say, well, before I feel overwhelmed or frustrated or that I'm not good enough, I can just go, okay, and these are the three questions. Where am I? What day of my cycle am I? What do I need? And how can I best use my power today? And so if you're just having that conversation throughout the month, they get to hear when you're in. Do you want me to just slip into a quick cycle synopsis here? Is that going to be one of the next questions?
Yeah, I feel like, oh God, there's just something like I said, I'm splintering off. I'm spiraling.
It was only 5,000 years of conversation to catch up on.
I know, there's so much. There's so much I want you to say and I want my audience to hear because, and obviously, first off the bat, and I hear it in your voice and I recognise that everyone's menstruation experience is different. Yeah. No two women have exactly the same experience. So we are speaking in big, broad brushstrokes, in general terms.
Yeah, of course.
Of course. And even when I heard you talk about your period and you said it's maybe a 5-day cycle, I was like, bitch, mine goes for 7.
Yeah.
And sometimes I have 2 a month.
Wow.
So, it's all of us are different. But the underlying message that I hear from you and that I want to get across is taking back control and understanding your own individual cycle is so powerful for any woman, and whatever your cycle may be, talking about it allows other people who have similar experiences to feel seen. And I think feeling seen and feeling represented is so important around these topics that normally are shrouded in guilt and shame.
Absolutely.
We are definitely acknowledging that everyone's cycle is different, and of course people with endometriosis know a whole different battle. But I just want to say from the offset that Lucy is not here to be that person. She is someone that wants you to understand, and I'm putting words in your mouth, your own cycle to kind of take control of yourself. So Yeah. Can we talk about, because you've touched on it a couple of times, and this is what was life-changing for me. Can you talk about the cycles, how you've broken them down, and just so we understand that?
Yeah. So first of all, I'm certainly not the only one to have done this, and there are a few really wonderful books out there that I'd be happy to
Yeah, but you're the only one that like got on a stage in Unitard and made it really interesting and amazing and took the time and effort. And I don't care for those other people. So shut up and don't talk yourself down.
Oh,
and
thanks,
just go hard and strong and to the middle and to the heart. Go.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So basically, if you look at yourself through a biologically male perspective, then it's very likely that you might feel like I'm all over the place, or I'm a roller coaster, or, I'm a little bit, crazy. Because
I might just start crying. So if I do, just ignore it and push on.
I will channel that to the heart.
You're totally
okay?
describing how I've seen myself for 41 years, and I'm realising I'm wrong.
Well, that you've been co-opted, and we all have to some extent. And patriarchy is not good for men. It's not good for anybody. We're all waking up to that. We need to understand the balance and how we all work and how we work together.
And the internalised misogyny, Luce.
Yes, absolutely. Yep.
Big uncharted frontier for a lot of women is because we've viewed everything through the male, our neutral gaze for so long, through advertising, through TV, everything that's created was through the male lens. Neutral setting was straight white dude,
default,
right?
Yeah, default dude.
And how much of that as women have we internalised, and therefore we judge ourselves through the eyes of a straight man and other women. So internalised misogyny, my sisters, it's real. Look it up. Continue, Lucy.
Absolutely. And this is really, speaks to that and is connected to that because, when you look at a male cycle, they are driven by testosterone largely, and for the most part, it's the same every day. And it changes throughout the day, so it's a little bit higher in the morning and it kind of cools off, and then it's replenished every night with sleep. And it's a 24-hour cycle. It's like, our experience of the sun. But when
I didn't know men had cycles.
Yeah. Well, look, I'm not a men's cycle expert, and I'm sure there's more to it, but I don't have time for that, quite frankly. And so when you look at yourself through that 24-hour cycle, then, it can feel really, really random. But if you zoom out and you look at your whole month, 28, 29, 30 days or whatever it is, everybody is, slightly different, then you'll see that actually you have 4 hormonal phases, and they each come with their own strengths and benefits, and they're based around 2 major events. So we begin with menstruation. Somewhere around the middle, we have ovulation, which is, when you're releasing the egg, and you're always either experiencing those 2 events or you're preparing for them, and that's what gives us the 4 hormonal phases. And we also have a little bit of testosterone, but largely we have estrogen, which makes you fast and strong, and progesterone, which kind of chills you out and makes you feel more connected. And so we're constantly moving through the month with a different cocktail of these hormones. And it's not like, 4 hormonal phases, you have 4 feelings, and, if you don't fit into these 4 boxes, then you're shit at doing that as well. It's really, it's very nuanced. And so I always suggest that when you're first exploring this whole idea, listen to the TED Talk and read my book and read other people's books and do all the things.
Tell people your book. Give it a plug. Plug.
Period Queen is the book, and it's the emotional landscape to understanding your cycle. Yes. So, and technically it's aimed at 15 to 25-year-olds, but it's I've had 12-year-olds read it, I've had 50-year-olds read it, and you take away what you need to take away. But 3 months is a really good amount of time to commit to exploring your cycle. And it doesn't mean that you need to, navel gaze every day and, make it this huge onerous thing. All you need to do is just check in with where you're at, what day, how you felt that day, how you were in the world, what came easily, what was difficult. And you don't need to sort of, stare too hard at it. Just write a couple of lines every day. And so then after 3 months, you'll start to see patterns, and you'll be able to kind of notice, what comes easily to you and when. And I'll get into that maybe after I've done the cycle synopsis, which I will do right now in a very...
I'm so excited.
Yeah.
Has everyone got a pen, guys?
Everyone got a
Insulators, get a pen. Get a pen.
All right.
Okay.
So we
Okay.
begin on day 1, which is obviously menstruation.
Yeah.
And when you look at what's going on hormonally now, there is basically bugger all. So you are really physically letting go of this nest that your body has spent, 3 weeks perfecting and getting just right in case of potential pregnancy. You're letting all of that go. Your energy is lower. I don't need to tell you this. You're tired.
So day 1 for me is Armageddon.
Yeah.
Not day 1, more, so I'll get a little bit on day 1. Day 2 is when the full, and I have I've spoken about this before, ridiculously heavy periods. Like I have to have iron intravenously put in once a year. And it's been a hellscape. I couldn't leave the house. I've taken stuff to try and stop it coming.
Yeah.
It's been really bad.
All
So
your
for
life,
me,
Em?
All my life.
Wow.
Like there are some, I can't leave the house really confidently day 2. It's bad. But I was a really good athlete, and that if comps ever fell around that time, I had to pull out of them.
Wow.
But I never told anyone why, like fake an injury or something.
Yeah.
It was really awful.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when I saw you talking about the first day when you get that heavy day, and you said, just be gentle with yourself, have some pizza if you need to. When you said that, you gave me permission to, and I did that. Like I got my period this week, and on day 1, I said to my whole family, I got my period. It's really heavy. I just need to sit on the couch today. I need you guys just to take care of yourselves. And they were all like, okay.
Yeah.
And I felt like you gave me permission to do that, and I never even thought of doing that.
Wow.
So thank you.
Oh,
But
that's my absolute pleasure.
speak to that. Speak to that. Like allowing women to be gentler on themselves on that moment where we are shedding the inside of our fucking uterus.
Yeah, it's a lot. And I guess, the other thing is that when we learn about the menstrual cycle, it's generally only in the context of reproduction. And so you're going to get
I learned
a period.
about it from Where Do I Come From, the
That's
video.
right. It's all about your capacity to make a baby or not. And so then you spend, 25 years having a period, or however long, trying not to get pregnant, and, just if it only exists in that world, then it's easy for it to not really matter or be a thing. But actually, all of these hormones that you're making throughout the month are not just for making a baby. They're actually, going to fuel all of the things in your life, the relationships, the projects, your creativity. All of these things depend on your ability to make these hormones and to be who you are. And so, the idea that you're only sort of, and this is bigger than period talk. This is, speaking to that idea that we, it's that whole sort of capitalist lie that you're only productive when you're, really going 100% all the time, super hard, and everything is, this big sort of fight, that's what it takes to be productive and successful. And the thing is, and I'm doing air quotes here, in a man's world, it was what it took. And it was hard, and you did have to be constantly proving yourself all the time that you could do everything all the time. But when you consider that you just have a different kind of energy throughout the month, and that all of the energy that comes with each phase is valuable and important, then it totally flips it. Because, maybe on day 2 you can't run a marathon, and particularly for a marathon runner, that must be just devastating. And I'm not a marathon runner, and, I'm like, oh, yeah. But no. So when you have your period, a lot of cultures believe that this is a time when you are more able to connect to your deep psychic self. You're shedding layers, you're losing all of this sort of, you're letting go. And so this is a really reflective time, and it's a time where, we're all so busy and not encouraged to stop and feel. And this is the time to really think, well, okay, how do I actually feel about the month that I just had, and what do I want for my next month, and what do I want to give life to and grow next? And, to really kind of check in, that's kind of the time where, you have that opportunity. And all of the self-care stuff, we can feel like it's indulgent and, that you're being lazy, but actually you're depositing all this goodwill and energy so that will fuel you for the month ahead. You're going to get ready to ovulate and do all of these other things, and you can't just be running on empty and constantly taking. This is the time to really deposit. And that's why I call it the dream phase, because this is the moment where you are sort of closest to your deepest self, and you're really rewarded later in the month for taking extra special care of yourself. So
period week, when we're bleeding, Lucy, is the
dream phase. And so your hormone levels are pretty low. And then once your bleeding tapers off,
yes.
See, while you're bleeding, your eggs are starting to stir. So you're getting ready to do this whole thing again. And so once your bleeding tapers off, estrogen starts to really rise. And so that makes you faster, it makes you stronger, and provided you've had enough rest and self-care in the dream phase, when you come into the next phase, when you're getting ready to ovulate, you are just going to be able to hit it harder. And so I call this the do phase, because you're getting ready to lay an egg. And if you imagine a bird, who's getting ready to lay an egg and they're trying to get their nest just right, they're on a mission, and this can be quite an impatient time of the month, because you can feel like you have more of a singular focus, and you maybe don't want to sit down and listen to people talk about their feelings. You just want to get shit done, and you're more determined.
Yes, this is me.
Yes. And the thing is, I'm starting to notice a pattern when I speak to really high-powered people like you, is that they all go, I love this week, and this is the time.
Yes.
This is actually who I really am, and this is where I try to be all the time.
I feel like I only get one good week a month, and that's it. And I didn't realise this was a thing, but I always thought, when just when my period finishes, I know that I then have 7 days, and I've written whole shows, books, I've reorganised a house. I'm crazy, adrenaline functioning junkie.
Yep.
And I didn't realise that this was a thing.
Yes. It's a thing.
Oh my God.
And that's the thing, you're already doing it.
Why is it? Because my progesterone.
Because your estrogen. And estrogen is like a building hormone. So the other thing is, if you are into exercise and fitness, this is the week where you can, you can lift a bit more. Your capacity to grow muscle is greater. Sports teams are all over this. They track individual cycles, because they know that they can get more out of their players if they give them, bespoke training regimes that actually speak to where they are, So, this is a big week, and it can be really tempting to sort of think, no, this is who I really am, and the other times are just don't, This is like where it's at. Yeah. Because ultimately this is kind of I guess it's the most masculine part of the cycle, and so we're really rewarded in this week, because you outwardly are really able to slay, and so that's kind of...
So this is the do week.
This is the do week, that's right.
Okay. Yeah. Then what comes after the do week? So then
once we come to the end of the do week, when you're just about to ovulate and your estrogen is peaking and you're literally climbing this metaphorical hormonal mountain, it's just like skyrocketing, and then you get this little shot of testosterone, and you are just superhuman for a little while. And that's what tips you over into ovulation. And then ovulation occurs about 14 days before your next period, or, around the middle somewhere. And once ovulation occurs, then you start producing progesterone. So when you look at progesterone, progestation is basically, it's a hormone that promotes and encourages and looks after pregnancy. So the biological function of having progesterone and ovulating was to reproduce and attract a mate and connect and create. And so it's no surprise that at this time of the month, your capacity for connection is really at an all-time high. So, and you just can feel, your drive can kind of soften a little bit.
Yeah.
But you can feel like you have the world on a string. And I know when I'm in this phase, it's like...
Wait, what's his phase?
Give, yeah. So I call this the give phase because, and bear in mind, so I was writing this book that was kind of, how to kind of ride your cycle, if you like. And I was thinking about all of the things, as you're learning to woman, which is, not to say that...
So true, and I'm still learning to woman. Yeah. I'm such a bad woman because I'm learning about my cycles at 41.
Yeah, and you're doing it on air and sharing it with everyone. You're an absolute legend. And so
I can't believe it's taken me till now.
I know.
To want to understand.
I know. And I think it's really normal if people who are listening are experiencing that as well. It's really normal to experience a bit of rage around that, because it's just like, what do you mean I could have used this? And what do you mean I've been rejecting myself for half of my cycle? Like, That is
yeah. This is a whole exercise in being gentler with yourself, which every woman needs.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've also let go of the negative self-talk.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, every man needs, but
I know.
I can't be bothered waiting for them.
No, that's right.
So, I just, the idea of being kinder with yourself with the way you your patience with yourself, the internal talk, the obsession with I've been obsessed with diet and body image my whole life. And finally, I sat with my daughters a couple of weeks ago and I said, first of all, I'm going to let you know that I've been obsessing over my weight since I was about 10 years old and now at 41. And as the mother of you two, I need you to know I've also been obsessing all this year about the baby weight and the lockdown weight and I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm just... and I caught myself walking past the mirror the other day when I was going to the shower and I first of all went to go, oh, look at the skin around your tummy. And then I caught myself and I said out loud, no, bitch, you grew 3 humans in there. So it's a whole retraining. I think the menstrual cycle is such a intensely personal. I even read some criticism of you like in a really condescending review of your book and I wanted to kind of contact that author and go, mate, come on. I mean, what do you want? How many people are talking in this space? Let's encourage her.
A lot of people, it's confronting and they don't feel safe to talk about it and they're just like, why is she? Oh, because they maybe just don't believe that it can get any better. It's just like, just keep the lid on, you know.
But it's confronting also for me. It was confronting for me finding you being so open about it and I experienced not resentment but almost like, oh, yes, I know I need to do this, but I can't. Yeah. And then I had to really confront why I couldn't. Yeah. And I realised all this shame that I have around my period because I spent my life feeling out of control of it because it is so heavy. And I was always busting like tampons and pads and I was always having to change them and you know. So you are in an area where women feel confronted and shame and you keep going.
Yeah.
All right, so we're in the give phase. We're in the give phase
and, you know, I think this is a time where, you know, so it's like for people learning at school about what's happening here, you know, ovulation, oh yeah, that's when you can make a baby. But no one tells you this is when you feel absolutely hot and when, you know, you feel more connected. And I mean, I just remember being a teenager and being like, oh my God, I want a boyfriend now. And, you know, like, but no one was like, well, why don't you just explore self-pleasure or why don't you enjoy your body or what, like, you know, and I think if we really learn that this is a time where you do feel absolutely, you know, juiced up and connected and horny, you know, like, and 100%. Learning how to manage that, then you don't have to always, you know, be learning about that in the context of making a baby because it's not all about that. And it's about your connection to yourself and your sexuality and all of those things and that time where you just do feel a little bit more generous. And, you know, like when I'm in this phase, I will go out of my way to say to Richard, my partner, like, how's it going? You know, how's that thing going at work and how's that relationship going? And, you know, do you want to have anyone for drinks tomorrow night? And, you know, let's have a family, whatever. Like I will actively spend energy there on the people that I love because I know that next week when I'm premenstrual, maybe not so much. So I use that time to really make sure I am growing the relationships that are important to me because I have more to give and, you know, sometimes I want to give it to myself, but it's also, you know, there's a lot of people I love and I want them to know that and that's the best time.
Okay, so the phase that comes after take phase for me has destroyed jobs, has resulted in media articles about me, I believe has caused the breakdown of many friendships, relationships. For me, the take week, premenstrual week, is something, it's like an out-of-body experience. And this is why I found you. This is what led me to you.
Yeah.
Is the take week. So can you explain what's happening in the take week hormonally?
Yeah, okay.
I think my whole life can be hinged on take week, to be honest.
I just wanted to have a little moment of silence just to you know, bow down before the power that is the take week and especially what I'm hearing is for you, you know, I mean, yeah.
And I only realised the destructive nature of the take week this year when I had time to sit still and listen to my body and observe the rage that bubbled under my fingernails and my husband would chew near me. Like, this isn't normal, babe. What's going on?
Okay, so when you look, and it's always a challenge for me to talk about this on radio or podcast without being able to point furiously at the graph because, that's kind of like the backbone. But you don't need a fucking graph to know what's going on here. And basically, you've come off the back of 2 huge weeks. The doing, you've got this big mountain of estrogen, and then the giving post-ovulation, you've got more estrogen, and then you've got this even more enormous mountain of progesterone. You've been doing, you've been giving, you've been putting out emotionally, physically, energetically. And now at about day 21 or thereabouts, you're going to come down. And the thing is that when you are still caught up in this idea that you have to be the same all of the time, it's generally week 2 or week 3 where we want to be. So we want to be doing or giving all of the time. And when you're premenstrual and your hormones are dropping and you're coming down that mountain and you're preparing to bleed and let go and dream again, if you are under pressure from yourself or the world around you, which is everyone pretty much all the time, to keep maintaining that emotional and physical energy, then it's going to be hard. Straight off the bat, it's going to be really hard. The other thing is if you have gotten really excited in your post-ovulatory phase and just felt like you were Father Christmas, giving away everything to everybody, and you skid into that premenstrual phase on empty, then it can be even harder because you kind of don't have any buffer left. And if we reverse back to that dream phase where we were, eating pizza in the bath or having a rest on the couch or doing all of the things, you're making deposits, and that's got to last you until you get your next period. So, I think you've just got to make sure you don't go into that premenstrual phase with nothing, and you don't give everything away so that you're then spending this premenstrual week doing all of the things that you said you would do the week before when you were really generous and excited. So
let's just park it. I just want you I'm having an Oprah moment.
Yeah.
I'm going to stop you, and I want everyone to take this in. During your give week, be aware the take is coming.
Is coming.
Leave something in the fucking tank, ladies.
Yes.
Leave something in the tank. Like, this is what I took away from you the most watching this TED Talk is leave some. Don't give it all away and give. Remember, next week you're going to need some reserves.
Yes. Yeah.
Like Super Mario, I've been looking at myself with energy pack, like I'm playing Mario Brothers.
Yes.
And I'm like, how much have I got going in?
Yeah. Ooh, I'm only on 9%. This is going to get crunchy.
Yeah, correct. If I'm not on at least 30 going in, I'm fucked.
That's really nice. I think 30's good. I mean, because let's be realistic, you're coming to the end. You're going to get to 0, but, going in, it's like, okay, 30, that's cool. I like that. Yeah.
That's what I'm going to, that's what I do now. And I'm doing it now. Like, I'm in dream phase and I know what's coming. And so I know that I need to, during give week, I'm going to be more self-aware and be like, okay, yes, you could agree to that Zoom meeting, or yes, you could agree to that deadline, but why don't you say, hey, I'm going to need a bit of extra time with that, or I can't, or maybe let me think about it.
Yes.
Where am I banking stuff?
Yep.
And I'm now physically thinking about how I can bank. Okay, I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to give myself that time to read that book. I'm going to talk to that friend. What am I putting into my tank preparing for take week?
Yep.
I mean, you're going to change lives here. I'm not joking. It might sound simple to people, and it would sound simple to you because you've been so entrenched in this for so many years. But I consider myself pretty self-aware now and happy to talk about everything, but I have not gone deep on the untapped resource that the menstrual cycle can be.
I think we need to talk again in 3 months because I really want to hear about what happens and how – particularly, this take phase, how it's like, I mean, I'm imagining you riding those mechanical bulls, and just, yeah, it's big.
Yeah, no, it's big.
It's really big, yeah.
I'm so glad to be able to, unlock this because, periods are so common. Yeah, I mean, and it's funny, I was talking to a guy I used to work with in radio, and I was talking to him about my struggle to be able to even say the word period on air and how the reason I didn't work in radio is because I hated the constraints that I had to fit this ideal type of I'm the mum from the suburbs. You can't talk about sport. You can't talk about periods. You can't talk about anything that might challenge a straight white man. And that's who I then had to kind of contort myself into becoming that person, and I lost who I really was. And then even like last year I did a show about female rage and I had 12 dancing vulvas on stage. And I still haven't gone deep on my menstrual cycle, and I'm a performer who's danced with vulvas. So
You've got a whole world ahead.
I think there's a lot of women, and to you and me it may feel like the most obvious thing, but there's so many women who don't think that the menstrual cycle is worthy of going deep on. But guys, it fucking is.
It really is. Yeah. And especially this phase, this
Yes.
take phase is actually my favourite to talk about, because there is so much untapped magic and
Talk
power
about that.
here.
Talk about the magic in take phase.
Okay, so I started off by sort of talking a little bit how you can ameliorate it. So obviously don't give everything you give, don't skid in on empty, and then, you'll have a better time. But there's more than that. And I think, when you think about what's going on hormonally, that whole process of getting ready to let go, it can have with it this really critical eye where you're just looking at everything like you're about to get rid of it, because you are about to get rid of this world inside of you. Let go of this whole nest. You can just be looking around at everything like it's all shit. And it's
Oh my God, yes. And everyone's against me.
Everyone's against me.
I'm getting into fights with ladies at cashiers at supermarkets.
Yeah,
Like,
because that whole sort of
Yes.
lens of everything is just, I think I maybe just want to let every single thing in my life go.
yes, I wanted to quit and start a banana stand in Queensland.
Yes. And the thing is that, that if you were just constantly in the give phase all of the time and you were never able to look at things critically and say, well, actually, what is working and what is giving me the shits, then, how much blander would your whole entire life be? And I think, when you can really see that lens as a gift and know that it's not, who you are every single day, and you need to kind of walk around with this magnifying glass up to your eye, because that would be exhausting too, then you can start to sort of use it constructively. And so for me, the most valuable thing that I can do with that energy is make things. Because if I train that super critical lens on my partner or the way my teenage sons leave bits of toothpaste around the bathroom sink, then you can slip into this vortex of just rage. It is rage. I think that part of what's going on there is maybe you've been the one who's wiping off the bits of toothpaste all month long, and it's really fucking annoying. And that is annoying. And if things are annoying you when you're premenstrual, it doesn't mean they're not annoying. It might just mean that actually that thing has been giving you the shits for a long time. And now your body is saying, no, really, do something about this. I am over it. And I think when we don't listen to where those things really, really sit deep within us, and maybe it is a relationship thing or, whatever, then it can come out to the cashier who, looked at you the wrong way. And it's that whole disconnect between what's going on in our bodies and how we feel, and how as people with women's bodies we feel we have to perform in the world. And like you said, turn yourself into a pretzel to fit this idea of what it means to be a woman in a fucking man's world. Yeah. And this is the time where you are really invited by your body to see things as they are. And you don't need to act on all of those things straight away right now. It's a really good practice to write things down this week, because then when you come up to your dream phase, you can have a look at that. And this is what I always say, is that if something is still giving you the shits when you're menstruating and you're in that sort of deeper dream phase and you're feeling a bit softer, if it's still got some prickles stuck to it, then that's when you can say with 1,000,000% confidence, no, that was not okay. And I need to do something about that in my life. And that was my body giving me a message and letting me know that, that I'm not okay with that. And I need to change something.
This is so helpful.
Yeah.
I don't know. Fucking hell. Like, even I, having researched everything about you and watched your videos, like, you've given me more. You've given me more today, Luce.
Well, look, I am on day 13, so I do have a lot to give today. And do you know what I love is so I've got a few friends who are kind of in the same place around the cycle as me, and we can then commiserate or rejoice at certain times. But then I've got other friends who are kind of at the polar opposite. So I've got a friend who, whenever I've got my period, she's ovulating, and I know I can go to her house and there'll be snacks and there'll be a warm spot on the couch and I can just stretch out and she'll love me up, and that's what we need is to have more dialogue so that we can all just get the best out of our relationships and our connections for where we are.
And for so long, we've been conditioned to think that it's a weakness, that we don't talk about it. And then I also didn't like talking about it because this is so weird, but I knew that I was having issues with my cycle, and my husband and I would be maybe arguing, but I didn't want him to know when I had my period ever.
Yeah.
Like, I kept my period a secret from my husband because I didn't want to give him permission to have bad behavior and then blame my period.
Ammunition, that's right.
Like, how fucked up is that?
It's not fucked up. It totally makes sense because, of course, if you don't feel like, there's safety all around you to be open about something, then you've got to protect it. And that's where we've all been for so long. And I think that, people listening will understand that. Everybody, knows that there are places where you can talk about certain things. But I think it is a really, really, really exciting time because people are we know that we can use solar power and we should compost and we can get all of this energy from all of these hidden pockets, and this cycle is just one of them. And obviously if you're in a relationship where, someone's going to say, oh, you on your period, or are you premenstrual, or you're just this or you're just that, then that's a pretty good indication that there's maybe some other things going on.
And you need to have a conversation though, which is what I did with my husband, and I explained exactly how bad that take week is for me.
Yes.
And I just said, I will be on red alert, like, for mistakes. And that's what it is. I'm hyper vigilant during that week.
Yeah.
Because I know I don't have much in the tank. So I'm trying to preempt disasters, arguments, anything that's going to take the energy I don't have.
That's right.
Because I know what's coming up. Now,
That's
and I
right.
understand all this now because of your TED Talk, and I know that the next week I'm not going to have much in the tank. So I think taking control of your menstrual cycle, it means having open and honest conversations with the women around you, the men around you, your kids. Normalize talking about women's menstrual cycles. Normalize your menstrual cycle with yourself, with the people around you. Lucy, I've taken up enough of your time. You have the book, Period Queen, Life Hack Your Cycle and Own Your Power all month long. If this hasn't been a 45-minute advertisement for that book, I don't know what is.
What day are you again today?
I got my period on Friday. So it's Monday, I'm day
4. Yeah.
Things are on the up and up for me. Are they things coming up?
Yeah, but I guess this is a really good time to just be like, oh, have I had enough rest? And if you feel like you haven't, then slot in some little moments. And that could just be like, okay, when I'm in my dream phase and I'm bleeding, instead of doing back-to-back meetings, I have instead of 10-minute break, I'll have a 15-minute break or whatever. Wherever you can just make small shifts to just pad out, and to give you, pardon the pun, if you can give yourself a bit more scaffolding, then I think the conversations really absolutely have to happen with men and partners. And, I've been talking to a lot of dads, and
great.
It's just,
oh my God, yes.
It is so beautiful, because
they want to understand their daughters and their wives.
They absolutely do.
Yeah.
And I think if you have a relationship that is, for all intents and purposes, healthy, then trust that you can have this conversation and that your partner wants to understand the whole of you, and who you are all month long. And it's not that you are any less than when you're bleeding or you're premenstrual. No. It's just that you have different gifts. And if you appreciate that you have, different things to give all month long, then all of the parts of you are valuable all of the time. And I'll leave you just with this one idea, which is, when you consider that if you're feeling inadequate or less than when you've got your period, and that potentially your emotions can be minimalised when you're premenstrual because, you're premenstrual, that's half of your reproductively viable life that you're getting around with this idea that I'm just not quite enough or I'm not quite good enough. And that's bullshit. And I think that's part of where the premenstrual rage stems from, is this idea that actually I'm not being seen, I'm not being acknowledged, and this is I have important things to say here, and and we need those things. Sometimes things are really, worthy of getting fired up about. We need all of the parts of who we are to be connected to ourselves, to nature, to just be in flow.
Inflow. Lucy Peach, on that note, you're a joy. I'm glad you're out there. You keep fighting that good fight for my daughters, for me. You've helped so many people you don't know. Like, it's mainly women that listen to this podcast, surprise. So, and also the men who do listen. Now we've given you the inside word, the secret women's knowledge. So go and use it well.
Use it for good. Yes.
Exactly. You need to get Lucy's book, Period Queen. You can find Lucy at Instagram. Is it Lucy S. Peaches or Lucy Speeches? What's your
Lucy's
handle?
Peaches.
Oh, Lucy's Peaches.
Yeah.
At Lucy's Peaches. I'm going to link. You need to go watch the TED Talk, The Power of the Period. I'll put all the links in anyway. Thank you for being so generous with your time.
I'm so grateful to have spoken with you, Em, and to hear all about your cycle. And because you've got a small child, haven't you, as well?
Yeah. He's 21 months. Yeah.
That's small. Yeah.
It's pretty small.
Yeah.
I've got all the
it's a lot to
18,
navigate.
13 and nearly 2. And the 2 girls are both in 13-year-old is just hormone city.
Yeah.
18-year-old. Like it's been a lot of big emotions in the house during this lockdown period. But it's been ultimately good, but it has made me observe myself in certain lights.
Oh, well, all the power to you, and
thank you, darling.
1,000 million hugs from sunny WA to you, because I just can't imagine what it's been like. And yeah, with a 21-month-old and a horrific cycle, and I just am sent. I'm day 13. I'm really coming up to my. I'm channeling through the microphone here. So.
Perfect.
Yeah, lots
Thank
of
you,
love,
darling.
and thank you so much for just opening up this conversation and blowing the lid off it yourself. I think you're fantastic, and I want to see the dancing vaginas one day with you. Like, yeah, maybe we should just
you can borrow them too anytime. If you want them to come out at an event you're hosting, you can borrow them. They're
Can
in my
we
roof. I'm
please
looking at them now.
collaborate on a premenstrual fanfare somewhere?
Imagine.
Yeah.
Just a period palooza, me and you.
Yes, yeah. In Alice Edgley, we're going to need bespoke suits.
Okay, well, it's happening.
Okay,
All right,
great.
thank you so much, Lucy.
All the best.